If you got into a farm truck in rural Canada anytime after the 1990s, it's likely that the only music that was there was an Ian Tyson tape. I know because I worked for a guy one time whose truck had an Ian Tyson tape jammed into the cassette deck and the radio didn't work, and the whole time that we were hauling bales, I listened to the first side of Cowboyography probably 100 times. Born September 25th, 1933 in Victoria, British Columbia, Ian Tyson grew up in Duncan, BC, and he learned how to ride horses on his father's farm. He began riding broncs as a teen and into his early 20s before he sustained an accident where he shattered his ankle. As he was recovering in the hospital, he started to learn how to play the guitar, and he said this experience gave him a newfound solace. From there, he enrolled in the Vancouver School of the Arts, and he graduated in 1958. His time there allowed him to discover a deeper appreciation for the arts, and it also shaped his own creative process. Shortly after graduation, he moved to the Big Smoke, the old T-Dot, or as Drake would say, his heartfelt performances resonated with the audiences in the Toronto clubs that he was playing, and it also resonated with fellow musicians and his future wife, Sylvia Fricker. Their musical partnership of Ian and Sylvia was captivating audiences with their soulful melodies and their enchanting stage presence. My wife and I make fart jokes together. They married in 1964 and they had their son Clay in 1966. In 1969, he formed and fronted the band Great Speckled Bird. Not only did it deepen his artistic ability, it also opened up the door so that he could tour around the world. Great Speckled Bird was more of a southern rocky sound than it was folk or country. I would recommend that you check out their track Long, Long Time to Get Old.
Remember this, children, is the good Lord's will, and live a long, long time to get old.
By the way, do you know and love Gordon Lightfoot?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you do. Well, Ian Tyson gave Gordon Lightfoot his first big break when he introduced him to his and Sylvia's manager, Albert Grossman. Albert Grossman also managed Bob Dylan, and Bob Dylan and the band recorded one of Ian's songs back in 1967. Well, technically it was a poem that they recorded into a song, but you can listen to One Single River on the Genuine Basement Tapes, which is an unreleased compilation. From 1970 until 1975, he hosted the Ian Tyson Show, or Nashville North. I couldn't actually find which came first, which title came first, and which was the title that they ended the show with, which aired on CTV in Canada, and at the time, Canada only had 2 TV channels, so that made him a household name across the country. In 1975, he and Sylvia filed for divorce. Around this time, Ian started focusing his energy into training and competing with cutting horses. And after getting fed up with the music business and Ontario in general, he just up and moved to Alberta in 1978, which is why I think that he's a real Albertan through and through, because that's the most Alberta that I've ever heard. In 1980, he began working with producer and manager Neil McGonigal, and it's around this time that he truly found that cowboy western sound that he's remembered so fondly for to this day. He used the royalties of Neil Young's Four Strong Winds cover to purchase a ranch, and he started doing these long engagement concerts at Ranchman's in Calgary. Fun fact, Ranchman's is actually Canada's oldest honky-tonk and the largest, and the movie Cool Runnings was filmed there, and I shot my upcoming special Cowboy #2 there. Ranchman's. It's pretty freaking cool. According to the bio on his website, despite his artistic evolution, his performances at Ranchman's on McLeod Trail in Calgary, where he played week-long engagements, were met with indifference. According to his own recollections, it was during this time at Ranchman's that he crossed paths with a remarkable woman who would later become his second wife, Twyla Dvorkin. And let me tell you, in a few years, he divorced Dvorkin. That was terrible. They married in 1986, and they had their daughter, Adelita Rose, 1 year later in 1987. But in 1986, he also finally found that success that he had been chasing for so long when he released his album, Cowboyography. Recorded in Calgary, Alberta, Cowboyography was his only platinum record, and it spawned a ton of hits, including Navajo Rug, Summer Wages, and The Coyote and the Cowboy, which Coulter Wall actually recently did a cover of. Tyson credited Adrian Cronowall with creating this unique sound that they discovered on that record, which he used for the rest of his recording career. He recorded his follow-up album and released it in 1989, I Outgrew the Wagon. This album also went gold in Canada, and the same year he was inducted into the Canadian Country Music Hall of Fame. He continued this success into the 90s with And Stood There Amazed in 1991 and 18 Inches of Rain in 1994. In 2005, CBC Radio 1 listeners voted Four Strong Winds as the greatest Canadian song of all time on their list of 50 tracks, Canadian version. But in 2006, he suffered from irreversible vocal damage after a concert in Havelock, Ontario, followed by a virus that he contracted on a flight to Denver. The combination left him with, as he described, a gravelly voice. And he still continued to record and release music after this, all of which was still critically acclaimed. He passed away at the age of 89 on December 29, 2022, on his ranch in Longview, Alberta. This was unfortunately after a litany of health problems that started when he had a heart attack in 2015. The craziest fact, in my opinion, about his career is that even though he had 2 gold albums and a platinum album, he only had 5 singles that even cracked the top 10, and he never won a Juno, despite how wildly influential he was. I feel like I can draw a lot of parallels to Ian Tyson's life, mainly because we were both rodeo kids who quickly went into the arts in our early 20s. I'd also go out on a limb and say I think that Ian Tyson was probably a far better bronc rider than I was.
Fence or striker? Here we go, let's take a look at it. Whoa!
As far as songs to check out, I'd recommend anything off of Cowboyography. If you listen to that whole album, you're gonna fall in love with them. But I'd also say 4 Strong Winds, Old Corrals and Sagebrush, The Old Double Diamond, Casey Tibbs. You listen to any of those and you're really gonna understand and appreciate Ian Tyson. If you liked this video, I've started to buy me a coffee and I would appreciate your support. I'd like to take a second to thank Rusty from Keeping Traditional Country Alive for being the first person to buy me a coffee. I highly recommend that you go check out his channel. He also just wrote an insanely good article about Muskrat Jones on honky tonk traditions. You can also check out other videos that I've made. That's free. Like, comment, subscribe, and follow. And hey, in the comments, tell me what your favorite Ian Tyson track is.